All right, everybody. It is 8:45 a.m., September 23rd, 2017. A big day, huh? We shall see. Guys, we have Maria here. We are currently at 120 mile an hour sustained winds. That's a Category 3 storm. 952 pressure. Pressure is still dropping a little bit, so once again, don't be surprised if those winds get a little stronger. Probably nothing much past where it's at now because of its path. The closer it does get to the Bahamas and towards the Florida East Coast, which it doesn't look like it's doing, just to give everyone a breath of fresh air there, the winds will get higher because that water is warmer. Right now we're in about 5 degrees cooler water than we were even 24 hours ago. So just that little bit of change will more than likely keep the winds where they are right now and not get stronger. And then gradually, as Maria moves up the East Coast, they will get weaker. So what we're dealing with here is a big race against time. That's kind of why I made the thumbnail the way I did. Now, if you guys remember yesterday, we were talking about the jet stream U, and you can kind of see the front part of that wall showing up now, just touching the northwest edge of Texas right here, you can see. So this is moving across. There are some small breaks going on in the bottom of it, and we're going to see how that's going to affect this later on, because that might leave this one piece of wall pressure on its own. And what that's going to do is it won't be one giant piece, and it won't be able to push Maria out. And guys, this is why these charts are switching back towards the East Coast. You can see it right here. Yesterday, as early as 7, 8, 9, 10 a.m., all these charts and basically everybody on TV was saying this is going to be an ocean storm. It's going to come out and then just loop right out. Where you kind of see this black line here, this black one with the O's in it, that is the CLP5 projection model, which still thinks that's what's going to happen. But if you notice the rest of these models, guys, they're almost forming like a reverse 7. Look at this. It comes straight up, right almost into North Carolina, and then boom, gets shot out. And that's what we're waiting for. That is the race against time with this jet stream loop. Now, remember what I was telling you guys yesterday? It's kind of hard to see here. This was the chart I was showing you yesterday, but it's a visible loop, so it shows you when the daylight is hitting these areas. So you have Maria here being shown, and you have Jose here, which is actually technically gone, guys. So we no longer have Jose. It is a tiny little system out there, but not even big enough to register as a tropical or post-tropical storm. So it looks like that's the end of Jose, but just as Jose left, guys, we got to say hello to Lee again. Lee has reformed in the middle of the Atlantic to the right of our Bermuda Atlantic pressure, and now we have a couple options here. It could just get carried out with that same wall of jet stream that is supposedly going to take Maria out just as it's getting to North Carolina. And that's what these models show here, getting whipped out this way. But then, guys, there's models that show this thing going east and then south and then right back into the conveyor belt where all these hurricanes get formed and then they get launched right towards the East Coast or into the Gulf. So guys, there's a very high chance that Lee will be recycled as yet another hurricane. How many times have we seen Lee come and go now? Probably 2 or 3 times. Very similar to the life of Jose, as far as it should be gone, it comes back. You know, it's just some of these storms are very, very resilient to other things going on, like shear winds and global winds. It's just very interesting to see. All right, we're going to move on here. Here is our wide satellite view. You can see Maria, those dark reds, guys, around the eye. That's what you want to look out for. When you see those all the way around the eye, that means you have a strong, healthy hurricane, as well as these sideways little band winds you see. Not the long bands that come around, but those other bands. That means you have a healthy hurricane. So Maria is still trucking along. We're at 120 mile per hour winds. It could possibly get stronger, guys, but if it doesn't get stronger, it's going to stay at this speed for a little bit, maybe drop down to 115, but still, we're dealing with a major hurricane. It looks as of now, unless this thing were to make some drastic turn, that the Bahamas and Florida might be out of the picture for this, besides some effects with these bands here. Nothing that Florida can't handle or that they haven't seen before, but nothing that's going to cause evacuations or stuff like that. Maybe some rip currents and stuff like that, some rough oceans. Same deal with Georgia, but the only thing is I don't want to throw Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina into that list yet of in the clear, because guys, I'm a very firm believer you are not in the clear at all until a storm is well past you or just completely gone whatsoever. We saw these little turnarounds with Jose. We saw Lee go out into the ocean and then reform. We don't know what's going to happen with this stuff, guys. That's the bottom line. Even the Weather Channel pros, they have no clue what's going to happen, and that's why they've created this cone of possibility where it's like, all right, it could go here or it could go 500 miles that way. They just don't know. And that's why I do these charts, and that's why I try to show you that the important thing to watch with these storms is what's going on around them. Again, excuse me, these are the current models. Now, guys, these models, again, were all way out here, cutting the goalpost, basically, between North Carolina here and Bermuda. They were coming right out and then gone, out and gone, out and gone, and now they're all coming in right towards North Carolina, all the way up to the Chesapeake Bay, some even coming as far as just being south of Jersey. So guys, over one day, even 24 hours, we've seen such a drastic change with this stuff. What are the next 24 hours going to bring? So basically what you need to notice is that they are relying on the jet stream just like we've been doing, and they've been talking about it more and more, which I'm actually happy about. They totally left the jet stream out of the picture for Hurricane Irma until the last minute, when it actually was the reason Irma went up the west side of Florida and not the east side. And we talked about that too, guys, so it's very important to learn this stuff. All right, here is our morphed composite. It's basically a water vapor map. It also gives you an idea of winds, so we can get a look at, here's the remaining part of Jose. Now guys, if Jose disappears, which it looks like it's doing, that is going to form that full pressure we were talking about when we did that drawing. I don't have that pulled up right now, but I'm going to be updating you guys all throughout today. So I'm home for today. I got all the time to focus on this stuff, which is why I was so busy yesterday, so I could have today, tomorrow, and possibly even Monday just to stick to this stuff for you guys. So anyway, as Jose leaves this area, we still have our high pressure right here in the Atlantic, the Bermuda Atlantic. We also have Lee right here, guys, and again, Lee is going to be forced by this pressure as well. Lee is either going to go up and out this way, where you see this big, strong current up near up next to Canada. It's parallel with Canada is what I'm saying, very far north. And then you also have this downwind that's coming that would push Lee back into this westward track, which is where our hurricanes form into, we get tropical depressions, then we get our tropical storms, usually out in this area, and then by this time they're usually Cat 1. So if Lee is pushed down, even though it doesn't look like there's much spin here, but it's formed, guys. It's a tropical depression, and if it gets pushed down into this westward area, it's going to start moving this way towards the Leeward and Lesser Antilles Islands, and then we deal with another hurricane, guys. This water is still very warm. Even though it is the first day of fall, that does not mean this water is any cooler than it was yesterday or last week or last month. So those changes usually happen in the northeast is where we're going to get our drastic changes. Now again, guys, the reason for the jet stream importance, sorry, the jet stream importance is also because, if I can find the thing I was using, right, okay. So anyway, we had that U down here yesterday, and now it's kind of moving across, and you could see the beginning of the sunlight hitting it here. And what they're looking for is for this wall to continue from west to east and meet Maria right here. So they want this wall to stay in its form, which doesn't always happen. That's what happened with Irma. 30 hours away from Irma being hit by a jet stream pressure, the jet stream wall broke, and it totally reformed, and that's why Irma, 30 hours before it was supposed to come up the east coast of Florida, was pushed back down and into the west. So we're talking at any point in this next 5 days, this entire forecast can change, and that's why these models are starting to move to the east coast. Now, we went from yesterday being just a loop all the way out to the ocean to now it kissing the coast, and if it stays at this rate, guys, what's tomorrow going to bring? We may be looking at a direct landfall somewhere near South Carolina, North Carolina, or if it comes up shallow, it could go right into this pocket here where we're dealing with Virginia, Delaware, Maryland, we got Jersey, Long Island, the east coast of Connecticut, and then we're dealing with everything north of there, guys. So you can see how quickly this stuff changes, and that's why you can't just rule out this storm just because a cone tells you it's going out to the ocean. That's not what determines these storms. It's not that they know the answers. They're basing all their info off of the pressures going on around the storms. That's why I keep repeating that, and that's why it's so important to remember that, because that's what changes all this stuff. Here's a good image of that wall. You can kind of see the pressure here. This wall right here is the cut line between hot weather and cold right now. So as this wall right here is moving across the East Coast, or moving towards the East Coast, you're going to get cooler weather here, and then eventually the cooler weather is going to be here, and then we're going to be experiencing fall on the northeast coast. So that's what we have for now, guys. We got Maria trucking along. It's still moving west northwest. So the more it does that, the more you're going to see these lines shift into this area. Don't be alarmed yet. If you start seeing these spaghetti models going right into North Carolina and up through Virginia, that's what's going on with the jet stream. That's why that's happening, and that's why they still need to put a lot of emphasis on this storm, and that's why I'm doing it. You can see we have a really good distinct eye wall right now. Some of those deeper red colors are reforming around the eye. We do have our secondary wind bands here showing a very healthy hurricane. So again, guys, we're dealing with a situation where we have nothing in the path of this storm. The Bahamas look to be out of the picture, and again, unless it makes a hard left turn, it looks that Florida's out of the picture as well. So that's good news for them, but not so good news for everything up the East Coast, including myself in New York, okay? Just want to remind you guys of that, because some people say that I want a hurricane in New York. That is so far from the truth. I am close to the coast. That's the last thing I want. I would have to upend my entire life and go move somewhere. Nobody wants to do that. I do not want that to happen. But if there's a hurricane heading in my direction and it hasn't passed me yet and it's not in the jet stream, I'm very much going to worry about it, and I'm going to report on it. So that's just the way it works on this channel, and I appreciate you guys sticking with me, and I seriously apologize for not having an update yesterday, guys. I had to get a lot done in order to free up my weekend, and now we're here, and now we can move forward and we can see where this thing is going. Alright, that is it for this update, guys. I'm going to bring you any change in the speed, the wind speed, the pressure, all that stuff. So I'll be doing probably a decent amount of updates today. I want you guys to enjoy your weekend, first week of fall. Check back as often as you want. Regardless, I will be here working on this. And that's that, guys. We still have 5, maybe 6 days before we really got to start thinking about who's going to get hit and if it's going to happen at all. Alright, guys, thanks for joining me. I'll talk to you all very soon.